Everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the Pythagorean theorem. Now, the Pythagorean theorem is used to find any side length of any right triangle. So as long as it's a right triangle, you can use this equation. And that equation is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Get that in your brain because you're going to need it a lot for this unit. Before we can do or use this equation, we need to know the different parts of our right triangle. Now, the two sides that make up that right angle, which is represented by this box right here, are called legs. So leg, maybe not legs, leg and leg. Now the legs are represented with A and B. It doesn't matter which one is which. You can make this one B and this one A. It doesn't matter as long as you know that it is a part of the right angle, the side that makes up the right angle. The other part of a right triangle is going to be the hypotenuse. And that is represented by the letter C. That is always going to be represented as a letter C, and that is always going to be the longest side of the triangle. It's also going to be the side of the triangle that is opposite of the right angle. So now that we have that down, we can use this equation in order to find the hypotenuse or the leg of the triangle. And the first step we are going to do is finding the hypotenuse. So, in order to do this, we're going to start with step 1, which is identify the A, B, and C given in the problem. So in this problem, I have two legs that have numbers with it and a hypotenuse that does not have a number with it. So I'm going to label my 3 and my 4 as A and B. Again, it does not matter which one is which as long as it is either A or B. So I can make A4 and B3, but there's no other way I can do it. I can switch them, but I cannot make my X an A or a B. That X is going to be a C because that is my hypotenuse. Again, the legs can switch, but the hypotenuse cannot. Now I'm going to plug in the values into the equation a squared plus b squared equals c squared. My a value I have labeled as 3. So I have 3 squared plus 4 squared equals x squared. Again, I plugged in 4 for b and 3 for a. Great, done. Going to move on to step 3. Step 3 is to square the values that you know. So I know that 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9. I know that 4 squared is 4 times 4, which is 16. I don't know what my x is, though, so I'm just going to keep that squared. Step 4 is to add the square values a and b. So 9 plus 16 is going to be 25, and that is equal to x squared. We're almost done. One more step to go. So step 5. Now we need to get x by itself. Since we are squaring x, we need to undo this by doing the opposite, which is square rooting both sides. This leaves the x by itself on one side of the equal sign and the answer on the other side. So let's try that over here. So if we square root 25 and our square root our x squared, square root of 25 is going to be 5 because 5 times 5 equals 25. And square root of x squared is just going to be x because x squared, square rooted, is pretty much the opposite. And the square root and the square cancel out, leaving x all by itself. Now we're going to find the leg. So in this case, we're given the hypotenuse, we're given a leg, but we don't have the other leg value. So we're going to use the similar steps. The first step is identifying the A, B, and C. And in this problem, we have the 5. The 5 is our hypotenuse, which is C. Then we have our A value, which is 3. And we don't know our B value, which is going to be X. So again, the 3 and the X can be switched because those are both legs, but the C has to be 5. Now I'm going to plug in those values into the equation. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And I have 3 squared plus X squared is equal to 5 squared. Okay, keep going. Now I'm going to go on to step 3, which is square the values that I know. I know 3 squared is 9. I don't know my X squared, but I do know that 5 squared is going to be 25. Great. Now I can move on to step 4. Now this is where things get a little different. I can't add these two numbers together because I don't know what X is. So instead, I need to get that X squared by itself. And I'm going to do that by doing the opposite operation, which is subtracting. And I have X squared is equal to 16. Great, again, we're almost done. I'm going to square root both sides again to get X by itself. So if I square root X squared, that leaves my X by itself. But what I do on one side, I have to do the other. And the square root of 16 is going to be 4 because 4 times 4 equals 16. Good luck, I know that you can do it.